We're live.
Yay!
Wow. Look at that.
Just like that. And we've already got
Yeah.
Carlos here in the room. What's up,
Okay.
Carlos? He's one of our usual early birds here.
Yeah. Hey, Carlos.
Hell yeah!
I've not seen this chat stuff come up
Doing
yet.
good, staying hydrated. Yes, it's very
Yeah.
hot in
So,
Southern
Alicia, tell us
California.
how hot it is in LA today.
It is, last I checked, it was like 100, almost even.
That's crazy.
Uh, yeah, the high where I'm at is 100. Yesterday was, I think, even higher than that. But yeah, it's been crazy. How about where you're at in Manchester?
Well, it's not quite as warm, you know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit cooler. Yeah, today it's like 12 and raining or something like that. You know.
Okay. Nice.
Look at the forecast for the weekend. Is rain. What a surprise.
Oh man, rain.
That's not too
Oh,
bad. But it was down to like uh, 4 or 5 degrees a couple of days ago, which in your temperature would be something like, I don't know, 40,
damn. That's
something like
so
that.
crazy.
30, maybe 37, 39, I don't know. So yeah, it was colder. It was colder, you know. But the sun
Wow.
was out, so it was okay. Um, no, which is unusual for Manchester. It rains a lot, which is why all this great dismal music comes from here.
Exactly. I've had this conversation several times because I feel like most of my iPod is like comes from the UK, and I'm like, it must be that rainy weather that keeps them indoors and keeps them
Yeah.
creative and focused
No,
and everything. We're here in the sun in LA and like getting distracted and I don't
exactly,
know.
exactly. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot in that. It's like it's somewhere you might, especially maybe in the 70s or 80s, you might want to not want to be here. You want to do anything you can to get out and to get away and go somewhere sunny. So you work for hard, get in the studio, get in the rehearsal room, and just play and play until hopefully you can make some money off it and leave.
Totally.
Yeah,
Oh, we
and
got
it's a
some
pretty good town now.
more people tuning in. We got Ko from Tokyo. We got Jugger
Oh,
from the
Tokyo.
Netherlands.
Well,
Kinsbane, what's up? Kinsbane just got a new job on Wednesday, so I hope that's been going well, Kinsbane.
congratulations.
Bryce Dirksen, and let's see, the NATO's 13620. California living, Mr. It's Me Boy. What's up? Also from the Netherlands. Very cool. And we're here with Mr. Doviak, which I'm stoked about. He is an amazing producer, guitarist, songwriter, everything you can think of. He plays with one of my faves that I've mentioned several times, Mr. Johnny Marr, as well as his own solo project, Doviak, which we'll actually play a little bit later on during the stream today. He just released a new song today and video, which is awesome. So we'll get to that in just a bit. But yeah. And yes, he does live in Manchester, as Ko is saying. So, right, it is technically
Yeah,
Manchester, right?
it's exactly Manchester. That's right.
Yeah.
It's before we go too far, it sounds very nice your introduction. I can do all these things, but you know what I can't do is just use Twitch. I have no idea what's going on now. It's like an alien interface to me. It may as well be a load of
I
hieroglyphics.
mean, I feel you. I've been using it for maybe 6 months, and I feel like I still can't use it very well.
Well,
But
these people you're talking about, so Carlos, well, I don't see where are they on the?
um, let's see. Are you on twitch.tv/
Oh, you know
Alicia
what?
Vigil?
I'm not. That's where
There
it
we
is.
go. And then
There we
if
go.
you want to mute the audio like we did
No, that's
before,
ridiculous.
you'll be able
Okay,
to see all the lovely comments and everything.
I have a commercial, but when that's finished, I guess. There we go. Look at that. Good afternoon. Congratulations on your new job.
Awesome.
Booking me, I guess.
So
Kingspan.
far, so good. Glad to hear that, Kinsbane. Hell
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah, Twitch is a really cool community. It's like you kind of get to know all your regulars and, where
Yeah.
they're from. And
The people you're chatting to, are they mainly fans of your band, Vigil of War, or are they just?
they're kind of from everywhere. A lot of them came from Dragon Force, since
Yeah,
Dragon
sure.
Force, like Herman's very big on this Twitch. So,
Okay.
he is the one who got me started on here. And then a couple of them knew me from Vow and, some have found me, I think, just maybe randomly on here. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah, great. You've been enjoying doing this, have you? It's been fun.
Yeah, I mean, I just love bringing on my friends and,
Yeah,
introducing people to new bands and music and talking to
yeah.
people in the
Hmm,
industry and
sure.
yeah. Oh, Jelger, yeah. Jelger got to know me through She Demons. I actually got to meet
Okay.
Jelger a couple times because he
Yeah.
he went to something She Demons related like 5 years back, and then also recently he
Okay.
saw us in
Yeah.
in uh, in the Netherlands this past February. So yeah, it's cool
Oh,
to get to know everyone from all these
yeah.
different places and everything. But
It's cool. I like it.
yeah.
It's fun. Yeah, it's fun.
And James
Uh,
came to our Vigil Boy show in Manchester. That was really fun.
it,
No.
unfortunately, I only caught the last bar of
I
music.
know, but it just means a lot that you were able to even, it
Yeah.
was a crazy day for you and you had all this stuff
It
going
was.
on but it was,
Yeah.
I just appreciate that you came out. We all had a drink after. It was really fun.
Yeah. It was fun. Nice to meet the band, the guys. It's a real shame, honestly, that I, didn't get to see more of it because you come all that way. It's not that often you're in town, so it would have been fun.
We'll be
But
back, when
yeah,
it's safe enough, we're definitely trying to get back to the UK, so.
yeah, it happens. It's crazy times,
Definitely
crazy times.
crazy times. So,
Yeah.
hell yeah.
So,
I always like to start out with my guests asking like, take me back to the very beginning for you, like music. When and how old were you the first time you ever picked up an instrument?
uh, pretty maybe like 7, something like that. And then I think I had some piano lessons at school. I was very young, and I wasn't very good. I didn't really enjoy it because it was boring. I think I'd probably just about started to listen to pop music, and we didn't learn that. And then maybe a year or two after, I saw an electric guitar, some guy carrying this electric guitar, and it was like this weird space instrument. Because I'd only ever seen, I think for some reason, I'd really only seen acoustic guitars in real life.
Right.
Yes. I hadn't clicked. I remember seeing this guitar. I was like, wow, this thing looks amazing. So I saved up £35 and I managed to buy one. It was maybe 10, 9 or 10, something
35
like
pounds?
£5.
No
And it
way.
was unplayable crap. I mean, it was awful, awful guitar. But I kind of persevered for a while. Then I saved up some more and bought one for £99. And that was more playable. And but yeah, I think they're like 10 or something, and played around a bit and played chords, and then gradually got more and more into bands and learning other bands' music, and writing with bands, like school bands and things. Um, and guitar was really the thing. It took over. It was great fun, 'cause
Hell yeah.
it looks cool, which is the main thing.
Were
You
your
know, and
family, musical at all, or did they?
but we did listen to music. So there's always some kind of music on. There'd be a mixture. There'd be slightly kind of cheesy, kind of um, it's not really pop music. I don't know what you call it. Like um,
New
it's the kind
wave?
of thing parents would listen to. There's a mixture of stuff, Neil Diamond or something like that, or like but
Yeah, Neil Diamond's
also
great.
classical music.
Uh-huh.
You know, and I remember liking Tchaikovsky when I was young. There's the sound of the orchestra was, and I think when I was at school, we went to see an orchestra. Um, and it's an amazing thing if you've never been. It's different to seeing on TV. You actually go and you see all these instruments playing in a huge room, and the sound is kind of stereoscopic. You see a spread of the sound. You see things playing over there, and the sound
Totally.
comes from over there. When
Yeah,
it's in harmony and unison and everything, it's incredible. Which is why I think a lot of movies still use orchestras. It's a very
yeah,
impressive uh,
definitely. Were you ever in
sound.
like the school orchestra or anything,
No,
or?
no, no. I just like the sound of it. And
Yeah,
for a while I thought it'd be fun to be a composer.
right.
Compose weird music or something like this. But actually, for a while I did want to do film music. I got really into the idea of doing film soundtrack music, and
Wow.
mainly because I like the orchestra kind of stuff.
Mhm.
I like rock and bands, but um, I think I like the drama and the kind of weird range of emotions that you can elicit from an orchestra,
Totally.
because it's slightly different. You can get some similar kind of emotional stuff, but orchestra can go places that it's harder to go with kind of pop music and even experimental music. It's slightly different. It's not better or worse. It's just different. And so, I like the idea of that. And I don't really play any kind of orchestral instruments as such. But around about that time, sequencing software is getting pretty big and everything. So you could program stuff. So I play around with that a lot and write things and Cubase and this sort of thing.
Yeah, how old were you like the first time you ever started doing any of that kind of stuff? Like,
probably like 16 or something.
wow, that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. What made you like interested in it? You were just like kind of fascinated singing orchestra or like
Well, actually, I think it is. When I was very,
stuff?
very young, maybe I was like 5 years old, I wanted to be a director, film director.
Oh
Maybe
wow.
and that's still something, I don't really think too much about it now, but for a while I really wanted to do that. And then, so I think there's some element of that in why I like the orchestra, honestly, because so many of my favorite films would have orchestral soundtracks. And the obvious themes, but the things I started to gravitate towards were more of the weird incidental bits, that you wouldn't really think about. But if you listen to what's going on in the orchestra, it'd be incredible. It'd be really avant-garde stuff. Like the cutting edge stuff of the 60s and 70s they'd be doing, which is kind of hard to listen to in isolation, honestly. But in a movie, it can be really, really impressive. It can be really evocative or whatever. And so,
Totally. Yeah, like the scoring of movies can totally change the entire feel or
yeah,
make a movie night and day different, like better
absolutely.
or whatever. And I
Yeah,
always really appreciate anybody who can do. I would not be the best composer or scorer of movies. Like I always think that's like a special type of talent. Like, super
it's
cool that
different.
you're able to do.
What's different, and what's interesting about when I've done, years ago, I did commercials and like TV commercials and stuff, and so it's kind of fun because you already have a template there. You have something to write to, and maybe in a commercial it's a very limited time frame as well, but it's very different. It's a very different process and mentality, I think, or kind of different, and so, but it's fun actually. I find it kind of fun to do, and you you're writing to stuff that you're not writing what you want to write necessarily. You're writing things that try to go with the picture.
Right.
Picture and music are very intimately intertwined in some ways, which is why even with pop music, rock music, whatever, the videos can be important. A bad video can make a good song seem worse, I think.
Totally. Very
Better to have
true.
no video at all. And whereas a good video can enhance, maybe a mediocre song or whatever. So, there's an interesting relationship between your eyes and your ears.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, if you're writing music like for a commercial or movie or something, it's kind of like you're painting the rest of that picture
Yeah,
for your ears, and I don't know how to explain it, right? But I mean,
yeah.
it is very cool.
It's
But
different doing it bespoke like that. A lot of time with commercial music, with TV commercials, it's a band or something, and they use a song from the band. So the music wasn't written for the commercial necessarily. You know what I mean? So when you're actually writing for that, it's a slightly different process. But it's So these people are chatting away. They say, "What are they saying here?" It's a little Neil Diamond, crap for it.
oh, thank you, Co. Very nice of you. And what's up, Azuranto? I'm terrible at these names as always, but we're here with Mr. James Doviak. Enemy
It's from
numbers. Hey, you got a fan here.
yeah.
Named
It's
Enemy Numbers.
Is that from Chile?
Oh, you already know. That's awesome.
Yeah, the #1 stat. She does amazing artwork,
Oh,
and
cool.
yeah.
Have you
and
met her
no,
before, or?
not knowingly, we have played in Chile in
Okay,
Santiago a couple of times.
very
So
cool.
you go there. You go to the Santiago shows. It's the one.
Oh my goodness, thank you, Kinsbane, for all the gift subs. That's so nice. You totally did not have to do that.
What's that then? Tier 1 sub. What is that?
Yeah, it's all this Twitch stuff, so you can subscribe. Oh, thank you, Loco, for Hot Legs. What's up? Oh, you've never had the privilege to see them live. I've gotten the privilege a couple times now, and do not disappoint. I'm a big Johnny Marr fan. freaking
Yeah.
awesome. I would love to see your solo project at some point. Would you think you'll ever
Yeah,
take that live?
one day if there's enough interest in it, I'll put a set together and go out. It'd be fun. I think it'd be fun because it'd be very dramatic. So I think it'd be fun. It's quite dynamic. It's like because a couple of the tracks I've got are quite having talked about film stuff. There's an element of that in there. So there's people like John Barry, who used to score the Bond films, the old Bond films, and that's a deliberate element of something I include in some of my tracks. So there's a kind of element of drama there, which would be really fun live. I think, it'd be good.
Yeah. I mean, I love your stuff. It's really cool, really vibey, very awesome.
Great, yeah, great.
And appreciate all the subs, and thank you also, Loco, for Hot Links for the tip as well. It's very nice. So, okay, I have to ask, we got a little bit into like the engineering world a little bit and the composing of stuff, but did you ever have like a first band like with other people that you played in when you were younger?
So bad, I'm going to talk about it.
You don't want to talk about it?
A question for me.
Okay, yeah.
What is your greatest experience achievement so far? I mean music, presumably.
From Mr.
Let's
It's
come
Me
back to
Boy.
that. Remind me about that.
Yeah?
Boy.
You can go ahead and answer that one.
Well, let me have a think. I'll think about it while we're talking about the first band. The first band, I mean, it was a school band and it was great fun. Really good guys. And a couple of the guys from that band went on to form another band, actually, who they got signed to Island Records in like maybe 15 years ago or something.
No way.
And,
What are they called?
They were called Dogs because they split up now as far as I know. But I actually haven't seen those guys I haven't seen them for kind of a number of years. I bumped into them in Manchester. They live in London. They were up for like a music, some kind of a music conference they do here called In the City, where a lot of bands play and people try and get signed and that kind of thing. And they were up for that, and I think they did get signed there, or maybe they just got signed, and so that was kind of fun. That was about the time I was playing with Johnny, initially.
And what was your first band name called with them?
So bad, I'm not going to repeat it. Actually, no, it wasn't that bad.
Is it PG-13 rated R?
No, okay, it was actually called the Wedlows.
The what?
The Wedlows. Wedloes.
Okay.
So it actually isn't too bad, and the reason is that the guy who kind of wrote a lot of the songs, he's an interesting character, and he came up with, I can't speak. He came up with the name, and it's actually the family from the show Gentle Ben. Thinking about that show about the bear from like the 80s or something like that. You probably don't know it. There was a show they used to play in England a long time ago called Gentle Ben. I don't remember, never watched it, but it was some kind of family and they had a pet bear and the bear would run around and solve crimes. I don't know what the hell happened. But anyway, that was their name, apparently.
Very cool. Did you get to tour with them at all, or like?
No, like 14, 15. We weren't particularly good, I think. But it was fun. It was great fun. It was good camaraderie in the band. That's half the fun. There's the social aspect, And then, then I just, we kind of broke up because of the end of school and people went to different places. And I got in other, bands with friends and, different things. And then I guess around then I was kind of started to do more writing and, came to Manchester. And it all went downhill.
Aww. Do you think the music scene was just well, I mean, I actually just had some friends from Manchester who was actually on that same show that you came to with us. I had them on maybe a week ago, and they were talking a little bit. They're in a totally different genre, though. So what do you find the Manchester music scene to be like for you?
No, it's not. I mean, people still think of the Manchester scene now as what was the Manchester scene in the late 80s and 90s, I guess, which is like New Order, I guess the Smiths.
Oasis, Morrissey, and obviously the Smiths.
Yeah, Stone Roses and things like this.
Yeah.
But the scene now, really, I think, if you go out, it's like anywhere, is a whole mixture of stuff, of all different kinds of genres, and so it's a different city now, and it's a different mentality with the younger people. It's a university town. The university now is very big, So a lot of people will be students, I guess, and they're from different places. It's a different thing, but it's good. I mean, it's by far a better city now than it used to be. You know, great places to eat, and it's come a long way. You know, and less violent, I guess. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
Uh,
I love Manchester. It's a really cool place. Like, I feel like, I don't know, you get that city, but also still a very English vibe. Where London is like a big city, you know, and like, it feels like almost like,
yeah, yeah.
it's London's great, but I don't know how to explain it right. Like, it feels like you could be in any kind of major big city, you know, like, in different, where
Manchester's
Manchester
very,
still
very
feels
cool.
very English to me. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah. It's different because London is. I mean, London's it's a proper city in my opinion. You know, it's
Yeah.
like LA or New York, something like that. You know, but Manchester is like a big town. You know, it's significantly smaller, really, and the centre is really kind of small. And the upside of that is it's easy to get around, and also the music scene's a bit more navigable. You know, so if you're in a band and a couple of bands, you'll know quite a lot of people involved in music. So that's kind of good. You know, but I do like it. I've been here kind of a while, and
Yeah.
but it's a fun place. It's okay.
So
Getting loads of
now,
questions.
when it came time to a little bit later on, you're, writing music. You played with,
Yeah,
some bands a little bit, and then enemy numbers here. I was also gonna ask, like, okay, how did the Johnny story come about? I know they had mentioned too that, they
yeah,
read the.
yeah. I had a little internet radio thing going on for a while. Nobody listened to it, and then it was kind of through that, that I picked up, and I think I played stuff that was kind of what was interesting at that time. So it was kind of a lot of not really psychedelic, but something like that, like slightly trippier stuff. And we got in touch actually through a friend. There was a friend who I did some guitar was playing for. Who was in a band who supported another friend's band, one of these things. Put us in touch, and then got together and ended up touring with him for about a year or something. And it was great fun. We did some good shows. We played support for Pearl Jam for a bunch of arena shows.
And this was back then. It was Johnny Marr and the Healers.
Yeah, Johnny Marr and the Healers. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Um,
how do you find it to be different from back then, like those early Healers shows compared to what it is now?
it's just a different vibe. It's a different band.
Yeah.
So the different. You used to have a different drummer and bass player. So the drummer used to be Zach Starkey, who now plays with the Who, generally, and a guy called Alonzo Bevan, who was in a band called Cooler Shaker in England. And he's great. Alonzo's great. Alonzo is great. I'd hang out with him a lot on tour, and he's a really lovely guy. I hadn't seen him for a long time. I saw him recently, actually. He lives in France now, and and Zach was great, but I wouldn't see him that much because he'd be doing things and in his room, hotel room, halls and stuff like that. So, but they're all great guys, and it's a lot of fun. Whereas now, the guys we have a different, we hang around more because we're similar age, and it's a different vibe and it's a different kind of music as well. But it's also really good. We have a great crew who are now unemployed, obviously, because there's
Oh,
no
I
shows.
know.
We're talking about that, and so
Tough times.
it's worrying for them. And but it's yeah, yeah,
Um, okay, if I remember
yeah.
correctly, and I could be wrong, but I feel like I remember reading in Johnny's book that he had mentioned that were you kind of the one to convince him in a way to, like, you should just have this be like a solo thing, like just Johnny
Yeah, I
Marr,
don't
or
think it
like,
was only me, but it certainly when we talked about it, it was actually kind of a while ago now. It was like 2011 or something.
wow.
Um, it was kind of like I want to put a band back together because he'd been doing some other projects and I'd been doing other projects.
Mm-hmm.
And um, and really, in my mind, first thing was it should just be Johnny Marr. It should just be that and that's it. And it should be all about him as well. See, Johnny's really, he's a great guy, so he wants to be really inclusive. Excuse me. It's like no, it should be the Healers or want all the band to be part of the thing. I think it's great. Are interested in that, but really, the wider public, what they see is Johnny Marr, and that's what they should see. I think they should be kind of like there's an element of hero worship. They want to look up to that. They should do. And so I think everything else kind of dilutes that a little. It's just easier to just to be Johnny Marr and get on with it, and it's great. But other people probably said it to him as well, and not just me. But
I think he kind of gave you credit, for that in a
yeah,
way.
I think he's been generous. I'm sure other people probably. But
Oh.
it's definitely the right thing to have done. It's fantastic. It's been
I mean, and
amazing.
your work together, because I mean, even just you guys basically on that first, I mean, really almost everything, right? But especially that first album was just you and him, just
Yeah,
writing, collabing, and recording
yeah.
this whole album together. I mean, what was that
Yeah,
experience like for you and
it was a lot of work.
a lot of
Because we were
work?
learning, or particularly I was learning, to make records really, and um, I think I was engineering it, and as well. So I knew Pro Tools and software pretty well, but it's when we had a few issues. We had a different drummer initially, a different bass player actually, but and had a different feel, so I had to do a lot of editing, and it was hard work, but we got there in the end, and I was, very happy with it. And then we went in to do another record very quickly off the back of the first one, and it was because it was so quick. It wasn't enough time to be think about it too much. Really, just had to get in and do it.
How much
Some of
time
it was.
did you have to do it all?
I'm pretty sure it's done like a couple of months, but we had pre-written. Some of the stuff was written on the road,
Yeah.
like Easy Money,
Uh
that track
huh.
Easy Money, probably one of the bigger hits. That the actual guitar on Easy Money, we recorded in on the tour bus into my
No way.
laptop, and
Wow.
it was in Atlanta. We sat in Atlanta, um, in a kind of grim part of town. But the guitar on the record is the same guitar. I just ran it through an amp. We got back in the studio, and it was like a DI signal. We did try and replay it. Johnny tried to replay it, but the vibe wasn't quite the same, so we kept that original riff.
Interesting.
But so things like that were kind of partially written on the road, and then they were refined, so it was easier.
Oh, and we're
They had a
getting a
drum,
bunch of
got a very strong
raiders,
idea.
by the way.
Huh?
Ah, what's up? Herman just raided with like 800 people. What's up, raiders?
Like
I
good.
heard that they were doing some Ramstein
Looks like the kind of thing like
writing
the
earlier.
hot team come around.
Rammstein. We're here with Mr. Doviak, who is an amazing
Hey,
producer, guitarist who plays for Johnny Marr and his own solo project, Doviak. How did the
you're gonna have to
raid
talk me through this
go?
stuff.
What's up?
What is raid? What is raid time? I have no idea about this stuff.
Yeah, I'll teach you the ways. The raid means that he just ended his stream, Herman, my bandmate from Dragon Force, and he just brought over all his viewers to our stream. So they're here, at least momentarily, and I appreciate all of them. What's up? We need your
Hey guys,
German. I know. I was like, dang, I could have totally. I didn't know what the theme would be today, so.
I guess I should answer more questions then. People are putting up questions there, and I was
Yeah, yeah, answer any that you see. This is
a bit
James.
close
He's from
for me.
Manchester. I
Aspen. What does that mean?
don't know. I'm guessing it has something to do with probably Sam's lyrics from they were having
Right.
a stream today where they were writing a song in like 10 minutes or so. And then sometimes they get themes like let's write it in the theme of, Five Finger Death Punch or.
So I guess I should talk about something you guys would be interested in. Then what would that be? Guitars, probably. Is that right?
Talk about
Yeah.
whatever you feel like. We were talking about his first Johnny Marr recording
Yeah.
experience.
Okay. I'll try and get to that quick. So yeah, we did that first record. It was great, and then the second one very quickly. And all the time when you're doing that, you're learning. I was learning to get better drum sounds and better bass sounds and this kind of thing, and guitar sounds. And I mean, and the secret I learned from all that is you have to have good musicians to play. When people play well, you don't have to do much. You stick a mic in front, it sounds
Yeah.
great. You know,
Did you
essentially,
do so? You
unless
did do live drums, or what was your recording
yeah,
process
yeah,
like?
live drums, and obviously we have Jack Mitchell drumming. He's
Mhm.
one of the best drummers I know for sure. His sound is really solid, but he's incredibly consistent. It's like a drum machine, which is perfect for recording pop and rock because you want the snare to be the same kind of level all the time. Well, generally, and the hats and things, So I don't really need to do anything to it, I literally put mics in front of the kit, I run it into, the preamps and into Pro Tools, and I don't really do much to it. I don't compress stuff particularly. And there's a little bit of EQ, but not a lot. The less I do, the better it sounds, and because it sounds good coming off him, That's the thing. It's the same with Johnny. The reason it sounds great because it sounds great when he plays. It's just the way he does it makes it sound 50% of the sound, and then his tone will be really good.
Definitely has a very unique sound, and like I can recognize it immediately and know that's Johnny Marrs playing for sure.
Yeah.
Your guys' tone live, I mean, I'm like, oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah. He works hard on it and gets it exactly right, and it pays off. Because people always comment, and we're lucky as well. We have a good crew, we have a good front of house sound guy, so people aren't getting in the way of what's coming out of the band.
We had a question here from Chimp Feet saying, what are James's favorite hair metal bands? Do you have any favorite hair metal bands?
Does Van Halen count as hair metal or not?
Yeah, that counts.
I don't really, when I was like, very, very young, I kind of liked that song, The Final Countdown by Europe, because they're hair metal. But no, actually, I like Van Halen. When I was about 15, 16, I had a book called Solo, and it had all these guitar solos in it. And I started learning them, and I didn't know a lot of the music. There's a whole mixture of stuff in there, And there's like, Hotel California solo or something. And I didn't know those songs, some of them. So I actually went and searched out the songs, and it got me into stuff. And one of the solos, I think, was probably something like Eruption or some Van Halen solo. And it was really advanced for me. I was like, wow, I persevered. And then I kind of got into other guitarists for a little while around, from that, like Satriani. Mm-hmm. And they're doing two-hand tapping and things, and it was, amazing. So I was learning all this stuff. And so there was a period of time I was kind of, I was into those things. The difference is, I wouldn't really listen to people like Satriani and Vai for songs, if that makes sense. Like somehow for me it doesn't really. I listen to it for guitar playing and ideas, amazing stuff, and it's incredible. But for songs, I'll tend to listen to someone like Van Halen or I don't know, Led Zeppelin or something like that. I know they're not hair metal, but and so the closest thing to a band I was into would have been them, I guess. It was kind of fun, I had friends who were into it. I had friends' older brother was into a lot of death metal things, but I never really got into that, but then after that, I kind of drifted out of it, I can still listen to those records and enjoy them, but I got into a whole bunch of other weird things, and I felt like I was always moving somewhere else, so I got into folk guitar for a year or something, and then then I started to get into experimental pop stuff like Massive Attack or Bjork or things like that. So then I'd go around, get back into rock again or something,
I gotta ask, was one of your influences ever growing up, like, did you ever listen to the Smiths before, teaming up with Johnny that much, or did you know much about it?
Two songs of theirs which I knew, which is This Charming Man and not London, something like London or I forget, but and I like those songs a lot, but I was never like a fan, a proper fan. But I knew those songs, I thought they were great. That was it, really, and so no, not really. Maybe that's one of the reasons they end up working. I don't know, but
we had a couple. This is a good one from 5DS Strix saying, if James wanted to pick one song he's worked on to give those of us who are new to him a feel for his work, what song would it be?
It would probably honestly be one of my own, just because that's my work.
Yeah, of course.
The song called Empire I did, which is a little slow, but in my mind it's a bit like a weird, dark James Bond film soundtrack, a theme song, but it turns into sort of a Zeppelin thing at the end. That's in my mind. That's what it is, But I think it kind of it sums up a lot of what I was doing that last year, like, about a year or two ago. Um, Going forward, I think I'm gonna play around with a bit more synths over the next year or two, but I still like that stuff. I like dramatic things and kind of theatrically dramatic, soundtracky, dynamic stuff, and so it's not something I want to stop doing. I like this the element of kind of I don't know, drama, I guess melodrama, something like understated melodrama, kind of.
Yeah, so if they look up Empire by Doviak, then
Final Countdown is probably one of the most perfect records ever made. Wow.
hell
Have you ever
yeah.
James and James took one song of yours? Wow, interesting. What else have we got here? This is fascinating, this Alicia.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see everyone in real time kind of
I was
chatting
believing
away, but
been droning on
so
too much. I need to tell some tour stories about.
dude, I okay, yeah, that's my favorite. Tell some, yeah, like
The
obviously you
worst.
got to record and write all this cool stuff with Johnny, and then finally go on the road. What was that like? Tell me some of these cool
Oh, it's
tour
great. It's great. I
stories.
mean, love traveling,
Yeah,
and so touring is just like traveling with a few gigs kind of getting in the way. But playing's obviously great fun as well. It's a buzz, as you know. And almost like the bigger the show, the more of a buzz it is. Kind of, I know. They're all great. The little club shows are great. They're great fun, and the really big shows are great too. But I love the travel aspect. I love because I love waking up in a different town, going out and exploring and finding somewhere to get breakfast, and you get to see amazing places. You know, some of the places I love the most, these weird places in the States, weird little towns,
yeah,
stopping away from like Detroit over to the West Coast or something. In some tiny town, maybe it's like 1,500 people, 2,000 people, isn't it? It's
totally.
usually very friendly and nice, and you get some lunch somewhere. And, the weather's always generally good somehow, and you go for a run, maybe run up a mountain or something like that, and come back, have a look at the view. Fantastic memories of all that stuff. It's great, really great. And
What was
also,
like the weirdest thing that ever happened to you in some strange city that maybe you went to, or
I mean, there's probably loads of it.
what's that?
There's probably hundreds of these things, but I forget.
Oh
I
yeah, I
remember
love these are some of my favorite stories, like all the crazy stuff that happens.
try to keep some PG ones if I can find them. Then let me have a look.
And thank you,
Uh,
Mr. It's Me Boy, for the cheers.
well, one thing I guess I could talk about. The one thing with Johnny that's interesting, when we play, because he's so well known, we have a lot of people come down to the shows or come play with us who are other great musicians. Like the whole time of Ronnie Wood, did a song or a couple of songs with us, and Billy Duffy from
Yeah.
he comes up from time to time because usually when we're in LA, but he's moved back to the UK now. So, but and things like this, it's great. You get to chat and hang out and play, and like Noel Gallagher, he's loud, very very loud,
So cool.
very very loud. Uh, yeah, because he used one of my amps. You see, I think we did "How Soon Is Now," the Smith track, and I
Noel
forget
Gallagher used your amp.
he used my amp, and it was behind me. I
So
said, "Hey, no."
sick.
Started playing. It was like that scene from Back to the Future. I don't know if you remember this when Marty McFly hits the guitar and he flies across like that. I couldn't hear anything. It's like I could. It was like unbelievable. I
And what
literally
is
couldn't
your
hear
rig?
anything.
What do you play through?
Marshall, couple of Marshall JC,
Classic.
just plexis. I've got a few because we have some stuff in the States that's different to the UK. But, honestly, I don't like Marshalls particularly. It's not my thing. But I mean, they're good, but they work really, really well with Johnny Sound. So in the early days, I tried a Vox amp out and like a 335 guitar and a combination of things. But it sounds so big and it's bright and clear, but really big and fat and a lot of weight to it and loads of harmonics. And a lot of sounds can't compete with it. It's surprising, because it's not like a big distorted guitar sound. Obviously, some songs are, but it's a very very big sound, but clear somehow. And so the best match, his suggestion was Marshalls and Les Paul. It was a really good mix, for a while. And then in the last couple of years, I've been playing these Yamaha guitars, SG 1000s. I'll show you. Huh?
Yeah, show and tell. Hell yeah.
In Japan, but they're kind of like a Les Paul, but they're very very well made, and they're great to play. They were kind of like jazz guitars, I think, from the late '70s or something like that. But for me, honestly, the tone's a little bit straight. I like a bit more grit. Les Paul's more gritty and a bit dirtier. But I think these look really cool, and I fancy the change. And they are really great to play. And there's a lot of harmonics in the sound. And they're beautifully made. The tuning pegs stay in tune great. They're great to tune, and it's all pickups are nice. And, they're fun guitars actually. They're just very, very, very heavy.
Okay, very cool.
So,
No, it looks very nice. And
yeah.
I've seen you live, so I know that it sounds really good.
Yeah, so started playing them, and it's funny because when I was like 15, guitars, 16 or something, I loved to bought hundreds of guitars and played them. Now I don't care so much. I love them, but they're like tools, and I don't really like lost after certain ones particularly. I just think, in fact, I like things with character more. And I don't necessarily mean beaten up things. They're just things that maybe stand out a little bit. They kind of, maybe the action's a bit higher or something, or maybe like, there's something about the tone of them that's more,
I feel you.
And so I kind of like that really. Even the appearance, I don't care that much. I kind of think they all look good, in some way or another. So yeah. But yeah, okay. What's any more questions here? What have we got? New guitarist means to tell us. Can't read that.
We had one here from Colin Anderson, 31, saying, how much harder is it to be a producer as well as a guitarist?
I don't know if it's harder. They're just very different roles. I mean, when I think of guitarist, I think basically just playing live, or playing shows and rehearsing with the band, maybe playing on songs. But being a producer, I think when you're just a guitarist, it's not in any way derogatory way, is it? Like just a guitarist, but if you just play the guitar, I think you're just thinking about the music in a certain way sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually very good. Thinking about your part, and you're thinking, how can I do this cool lick? And that's a great thing. Sometimes if you're producing, you can lose that a little bit. You're thinking about the overall song, and you're thinking about a whole bunch of other stuff, and where the song's going to go, and maybe about the balance of stuff, and maybe the mix, and but you can maybe not think about those cool little licks. And those little licks I think people remember and love, So, if you're producing, I think you have an overall picture of the song or album, whatever it is. And but everyone's got a different style. So some producers might be very, very hands-on. Maybe they get on the desk and they engineer and they mix and they write and they get into Pro Tools and use samples. Whereas some other producers, maybe they stand in the back of the room and they tell someone else, they turn that up. I don't like that bit's really good. Go around that bit again, And they've got very good sense of music. Listen to a lot of record. Maybe they don't have a lot of technical sense. So there's no hard and fast rule, obviously. Whatever gets the results. Yeah, but yeah, guitarist is just a different thing. I think you play the guitar, it's like it's a bit. You're thinking more. Well, when I do it, you're thinking more about just your part. You're listening to other things going on, but you're thinking, I've got my solo coming up or whatever it is, and I go to that chord bit there, and and I've got to look cool. I'm doing it,
Yeah. Speaking of that, I would love to know I love that you have this very cool, almost like spy look, or I don't know what you would describe it as. Like you have the very the suit and the glasses all the time on stage. How did you create this look, or is that just how you dress every day, or you kind of have this persona? I guess.
Just like that. Yeah, it kind of is. It's a slight exaggeration of what I do anyway. And it's also that it ties into, you have an aesthetic like you do. You have your aesthetic for your band and your image, and it's an extension of what the things you like. and you exaggerate it a little bit, and you try and make it clearer for other people to see. You know what I mean? The things you
Yeah.
like, and so, and it's just that. I think it's the same thing. It's representative of the things I like, and
Mysterious.
yeah, and also it's kind of exaggerated, but it's kind of true. But it's like it's almost an antithesis to chaotic rock. You know what I mean? That's the images, because it's kind of how I think. It's like um, it's more groomed and shorter hair, and fitting jackets and that kind of thing.
No, you
Um,
look awesome. It's a very
it's
cool. I was just always wondered what it, how you would describe it to other people as, and then of course you've got your.
always hard to describe yourself, Alicia, isn't it?
I know,
It's,
right? I guess that is kind of weird, but it's like, yeah, it's like amplifying a personality of yours that
sure,
on
exactly.
stage.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah. So speaking
Cool.
of your solo project as well, because you've got Doviak, which is awesome, um, and you just released actually like a single today,
Yeah.
as
Perfect
well as a
timing.
video. Don't
Yeah,
follow.
that's right. Yeah.
How did you start writing for your own stuff, and did you know immediately like the direction you wanted to go and
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I had for a long time, honestly, had an idea, or I wanted to do something that was like the tracks I'd done last year. But it took me a long time to um, develop. To be able to get it together in a way that sounded like a decent track. And some of that was mixing. Because I'm doing it all myself. It was just a slow process, and
mm-hmm.
so it took a long time to get there. And also, I'm kind of lazy. So I'd find anything to distract me rather than finish things. And so, um, but it's getting easier and easier now, and clearer. But yeah, it's quite a long time, honestly. Where I have songs knocking around, some of them are not very good, and I do work on them some more and come back to them, and then maybe work on a new one and try and develop that, and thinking that's crap and leave it. But over time, it built up to where I had songs that I actually was pleased with. And I thought, it's time to release these. So, um, yeah, and that's kind of how it started. But the idea was there for a long time, good 5 years, where I was kind of chipping away at it with that vision, but trying to make it wasn't that easy.
Right,
Uh,
yeah. It's a tricky process, especially nowadays in the music industry, everything's so, oversaturated online and,
it's tricky by itself, I think, to do songs where uh, songs where you sing on them, band songs. It's not easy to produce yourself.
yeah,
Uh,
totally. I mean, it's like
I
you
mean,
have so much work just to do
yeah,
every single part of it.
what I mean is it's not easy to make it sound good,
Mm,
necessarily, and it's very because unless it's very easy to go down wrong pathways, and you can't see the wood for the trees, and you can't see how it sounds to other people. And so that's the beauty of having a band, or a producer or people to work with. You bounce ideas off, and you
right.
critique each other, and hopefully the path you steer somehow will be better than the path just one of you may have gone down. And swings and roundabouts. If you compromise too much, you may end up with something that's lackluster or something. But generally, I think music's a kind of a social thing to some degree, and having feedback's a good thing. Um, but but yeah, and I like that spontaneity you can get with a band. It's much quicker to write.
Mm,
Someone plays something, and you go, "Oh, that gives me an idea," and then you start playing,
right.
and so stuff can come together really. Good music can come together that way. It's great, and I like that a lot. Um, but by yourself, it can be slow and arduous sometimes. But increasingly, it's getting quicker. Actually, ideas come out more fully formed, and I'm kind of happier with them. So yeah, but in the future, I want to collaborate more. For sure. So it'd be fun.
Very cool. No, I mean, I'm a fan. I really like your solo stuff, and I'd love to play your new single. And it's funny, Enemy Numbers actually said it at pretty much around the same time that I mentioned it as well. So
I mean,
if it's cool with you, I'd love to play the new single that
you
just
get to
dropped
that first.
today.
She does it all for me. It's amazing.
What?
She does all the PR. She makes
Hell
amazing
yeah.
gifts,
Enemy
video,
numbers.
posts
Oh
them to
yes.
Instagram. She does 10 times more PR than I do. It's fantastic.
Aw.
Yeah. But yeah,
Awesome.
we'll just play like a minute because people are going to get bored of it probably.
Oh, come on. This is Doviak, and this is his brand new single, Don't Follow. Yay!
Hey,
Hell yeah! That was your brand new song that just popped up today. It's all. It was so
well,
good, and everyone in the chat's loving it.
really? They've all left.
No, look at all the nice comments.
I mean, I mean, I would say that's not. That's a slightly different track, slightly atypical from the other stuff I've got.
You're
It's
just so
more,
humble.
but it's more, the other stuff isn't as electronic, but it's a similar kind of vibe. It's kind of, I guess, kind of downbeat, a bit dour or whatever. But the guys who stayed, thanks, I appreciate it. Very kind of you.
Yeah, very cool. Everyone's like, yes, they love the mix of the 80s and new, and it's a perfect mix of the old synth and the new, and so good.
Tell you,
It's terrific.
live
Bravo.
live online, the inspiration for that song was these sunglasses.
Hell yeah, those are sick.
Found them like
Yeah,
last year
tell
or
me the
something.
inspiration, and how did you do your own video too, or who shot this?
Yeah, I did it myself just because
Wow.
I have to.
That's awesome.
Also, why it looks like it's made 1980s special effects and that kind of thing because it's just me doing it. I have to set a camera up and do it. So it worked out, I guess, in these COVID times to be able to do that. But I think it's kind of time consuming, and probably for the next couple of tracks, I probably won't bother doing video. I'll just do some like 30-second clips or something like that. Because I'm not getting enough time to write music. That's what I like doing, and it's like I'm just getting no time to do it. So I'll do that. But anyway, back to the glasses. They were in a charity shop. You call them that? Thrift store.
Oh, okay.
I
Character
saw
shop?
the
Is that
window.
what you call it?
Charity shop, yeah. Because
Oh,
the money goes
charity
to
shop, right.
It's like the staple of the English high street. We have hundreds of these things like Age Concern, British Heart Foundation, cancer research. There's a whole load of these shops, and they second-hand stuff. It's like a thrift store, so it's like
Yeah.
kind of smelly clothing and weird shoes that look folded up, and books and like DVDs and stuff. And but these were in the window, and I thought, yeah, they're kind of funny, so I'll buy them. And I thought I should someday do a song which I can kind of utilize these.
Oh yeah.
And then and then this track came out. And I had the idea on my laptop, and it was in Tokyo. We played Fuji Rock. I think it was last year, and I had some time, and I threw the basic idea together, and it was it. I thought that's the song. It's great. So yeah, that's kind of how it came around. And Fuji Rock was fun.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, you've played some amazing shows. Even Glastonbury. I mean,
Yeah, that was
what
good.
was
Yeah,
that like? I mean,
pretty great. In fact, on my Instagram, if you guys go there, you can see a little clip of the backstage of Glastonbury walking up to stage. I posted a couple of days ago. See, unfortunately, I don't take enough of these videos, like walking around backstage and things. But it's pretty great because it's huge. Glastonbury, I think, is one of the biggest festivals there is. And I forget the number. It's a crazy amount of people, like 750,000 or 250,000, at the event. And then, I mean, for our stage, it was slightly smaller, but it's still a lot. I don't know how many, 50, 60,000. I guess it's televised as well, so there's a few million on top. But it's great fun. It's a buzz. I love it.
well, do you prefer like smaller club shows, or do you prefer those big
It's different.
festivals? Like, what's the most fun for you?
Those really big shows, you get a little bit nervous, but not really because we're so well rehearsed.
Right.
And I know back to front with my eyes closed. There's nothing to go wrong. So the only thing that can go wrong is equipment failure or something. That's out of my hands. And actually, that happened at Glastonbury. So we have in-ear monitors, which are like molded in-ear monitors that fit in your ear.
Right.
So when you can't really hear anything else, it's like covering your ears with your hands or something. And we walked out, and I literally hit the first chord, and then my in-ear monitors just died. They went off. I couldn't hear anything really. And I think I walked over to Jack on the drums. I could hear the snare drum because I think, well, if I can hear the snare drum, I can just play along.
Oh my
You,
god. That's
you're
scary
aware
though.
it's sometimes these cameras moving around, and they've probably got those big screens you get at festivals as well, where you think, oh, God, like blown up like 100 foot high or whatever. And so that's kind of on your mind a little bit, thinking, I hope these guys fix my in-ear monitors. I think I said to my guitar tech, like, something wrong with these. Anyway, by the second or third song, we got them back on, but it was one of those weird things, that it's not the monitors themselves, it's the pack or something else. But it was interesting, but it threw me off the show, to be honest. Like,
Totally. Yeah.
I don't really mind too much, but it
And people
rather
in the
than
audience
enjoy.
have no idea what's going on. They don't know what's happening in your ears.
No,
And
no,
like
no.
you have to play it kind of cool enough to not freak out and still
Yeah,
keep playing along and hope that you're doing it right. Like what do you
exactly.
I mean how crazy are those and they
Professional
feel
here.
so long too, right? Like it feels like a minute can feel like an hour where you're like stuck in that moment. I don't know.
Right.
Like
Yeah. Because time, your time perception goes out when you're there. Because even though there's a little bit of nerves, it's not particularly bad for me. Some people it's very bad. But like I say, we're so well rehearsed. I'm not really worried. I'm kind of excited. I want to get out there and play it because it's fun. And but when you are kind of a bit nervous, time just goes all weird, and
mhm.
it seems to take forever, and it's like a horrible dream where you can't move properly, and things seem out of tune, and when it goes wrong, which occasionally it does, and in front of a lot of people, it can
Right.
be
Can you
disconcerting. But at the
recall
end,
like the most nervous you've ever been live or for a certain gig maybe or
not really, but a couple of times had some weird ones. Where I was very very tired, maybe like in South America or something like that, and I had when I had this mate tea, which is like kind of like caffeine, like it's like really strong caffeine
mhm.
equivalent. And I drank way too much of that, and I had no sleep at all because I was up very late, being naughty. And I drank it before the show, and then maybe the second or third song, I just started to like freak out. It was like the room was kind of spinning, and very very disconcerting. And I had to close my eyes and just close my eyes and keep playing because anything my eyes open it was just too much, like overwhelmed or something on this. And then I had my glasses on and sweat was dripping into my glasses. I couldn't see anything. It was pretty trippy.
Oh my god.
I got through it. It was okay, and maybe towards the end I kind of pulled it back. But I always play okay. I'm always kind of on it somehow. It's amazing, really. But it was, I'm not doing a very very good justice to how insane it was. But that was interesting, and we had one at the Albert Hall in England, London. For like it's called a Teenage Cancer Trust, I think. Roger Daltrey kind of organises it, compares it. A bunch of people were down there, um, and we played the song "How Soon Is Now," the Smiths song.
Mhm.
This slide part, big classic, weird screaming slide part, and towards the very end, what happened? The Something went horribly wrong. It's kind of the most famous song, really. We do. We end the set with it, so it's a big deal, exciting, and we got pretty well through it. But then I think Johnny's amp went off. Something like that happened. Like his amp went off, died or something, and and then probably 10 seconds later, the strap came off my guitar. Somehow I
Oh
didn't have the
no.
strap, and this part you can't really play. I've got to do a foot pedal thing as well and try and
Oh.
play it. I was trying to do that and do the slide thing. I couldn't really do it, and then somehow I lost the count because I was thinking about this stuff.
Oh
And then
no.
drums and bass kind of lost the count a little bit. I think and we were just kind of looking at each other, and it just kind of fell apart, like bit by bit.
Dominoes.
It was really one of those things where you could see at the end the drum kit had just fallen over and cymbal crash, and you
Aw.
know. But I don't think anyone even noticed. To me, it
Yeah,
was
usually the
like a bad
audience
dream.
doesn't know
No,
all the chaos going on. And
but
like
most of them.
enemy numbers here says, James makes it look so easy, I swear, and I agree. You look very comfortable and cool and
When
collected
you
on
rehearse,
stage, so
it's kind of it's kind of easy. I mean, honestly, my stuff I do is pretty complex, pretty not the guitar parts, and they are. Some of them are pretty complex, obviously, but what I used to do, we're going to change this a bit now, but I used to trigger off a lot of samples with a foot pedal trigger.
Oh man.
So it's like a mini keyboard at your feet, essentially, and I would hit like string samples or like synthesizer samples and this kind of thing. And sometimes it'd be all throughout the song. So it's like playing a piano with your feet at the same time, essentially.
Man.
Now,
yeah,
when you practice
you're a man of many talents, and you do even regular keyboards live as well, and backing vocals, and I mean you're very humble. You do a lot of cool stuff that it's very hard, and you do make it look quite easy up there. So
yeah, when you rehearse, it's okay. It's like anything, like classical piano players or something. It's very complex, but if you're rehearsed fully, it's like automatic. So it's not too bad playing it. It's fun, but but there is a slightly high level of concentration I have, I think, probably than if I was just playing guitar. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm always thinking I've got to do something else somewhere, and so. But I don't mind. It's fun, and it's like it's kind of when you've got it down and rehearsed, it's not too bad. You can just enjoy the songs. So when I'm playing, I'll be listening just to the music. I'm listening to. We have a good monitor engineer, so I'll have a good mix in my ears or in the wedge or whatever, and so. I'm just listening and enjoying playing, honestly. Listening to the drums, thinking, that sounds great. Really kind of lock into a groove. And the drums and bass, Ewan and Jack, are great players. They lock in together very, very well, all the time. And so that's what I'm doing, really, listening to that and just enjoying it and playing the music. And, I don't have to think too much about what I've got to do.
Hell yeah.
So that's good.
So... Before we start wrapping up, I'd like you to, if you're around at least for some Instagram questions at the end, and then tell everyone where they can find your music and your socials and what's coming up next.
Well, I guess my music's on the usual Spotify and that kind of thing.
That's under Doviak.
Doviak. Makes me cringe to say it, but Spotify, all those things. Go and stream it if you like, and then socials, Instagram, the Doviak. There's some other Doviak first, and they don't even use it. It's unbelievable. What a waste, And then and Twitter, I think it's the same. Is it? I don't know. And Facebook probably.
Hell
I think it's just.
Yeah, see?
So, all people like me still use Facebook, you see.
SSX Lulu Burlu.
Greatest experience, okay. Greatest experience happening.
More songs, please. That's the big there.
Excuse me?
Oh, they're saying more songs, please. See, like, everyone's loving it. They want to hear more. When is some new music after today coming, or do you have some more plans?
Well, the next one will be a month. I mean, I have a bunch of stuff written already, and the plan is releasing it. I mean, honestly, I would like to just release it all tomorrow. But what's kind of annoying, as you know, you have to play a bit of a game with Spotify and things and release it on a Friday, and then try and get it to stream it on that Friday. So then maybe you have more chance of getting on playlists. So this is why, for anyone listening, we always say, please go and stream, because if you do it on that day, there's more chance of it being playlisted and getting a wider audience, and then if you have a wider audience, you can do more shows and do more fun things.
Yeah, people don't realize, I think, like all the algorithms that go into even just Spotify alone. Like, I've already got it here.
Thanks, Kinsman.
I'm adding it to my playlist, which helps the algorithms. So everyone who dug that song, make sure to go to Doviak on Spotify, add it to your playlist. That helps us artists out, whether you know it or not. Day of your release, it really does a lot of things. So definitely go do that. Go follow. Kinsbane is nice. He just put your Spotify link as well as your Instagram. So yeah, very cool stuff.
Yeah. So greatest experience. I don't know, but some of these really big shows have been, interesting. Like you did Hyde Park with Who, and that was fun. I got to see Zach again. Actually, I hadn't seen him for like 10 years or something.
Aww.
But it was big. It was like maybe 60,000, something like that. And it was a hot day, and I was a little nervous, honestly. Not massively, but a little. And when we got up there and played, it was great. There's a big crowd. That was a lot of fun. You know, it's impressive when you stand there. It's like it's like something you dream about when you're 15 or whatever. You look out and there's just a sea of people off to the horizon. And
Man.
so that was a lot of fun. Hung around to watch the Who. Some of those kind of shows have been pretty great. Um, they're all good. It's hard to say one specific one that was the best. There's a lot of these. Like Glastonbury was good despite my technical problems. Um, some of the quirky ones are good. That I like the Hollywood Forever Cemetery I played there, which you'll know, living in LA. So there's a weird, creepy cemetery in LA where a lot of film stars are buried, and they started putting shows on in this little tiny venue there on site, and it's got a vibe, weird, creepy vibe, which I like,
Mhm.
and that was a fun show. And where was the other weird venue I was thinking of? You know what? Oh, we played a vineyard up in Sonoma called Gunlatch Bumshoe, and there's a guy who is a promoter, and he puts on shows the uh, in that region. And anyway, they have some in in his winery, so we got to stay there. They did a wine tasting before the show, and
Wow.
the owner was a great guy, really good, fun guy, youngish guy. We hung out, and that was fantastic. It was beautiful, beautiful scenery,
Yeah,
as you
I
can
was
imagine.
wondering, I'm like the same Sonoma that I'm thinking of, or that's
Yeah, yeah,
awesome. Yeah, wine
yeah,
country.
yeah,
That is fun. You get
uh,
to, at least
yeah,
have some fun, before or after sound check, a day trip to do something cool and
yeah.
hell yeah.
So the guy is so friendly. He invited us. He goes, "Oh man, if you come back, I've got a little house on, in the winery here. You can stay there." It's just being nice. I thought, well,
Yeah.
maybe one day I will take you up on that.
Yeah,
Just come
well, you
back.
even got here, Colin Anderson saying if you ever come to Scotland, message me, he'll buy you a beer or some coffee. He wants to
Whereabouts in
see
Scotland?
Doviak play in Edinburgh. He commented
Edinburgh.
that
I
earlier.
like Edinburgh. It's very pretty. Did you play there? Did you go
Yeah.
there with your? Yeah. Did you get to see any? You got to see some?
What's that?
Did you get to see any of Edinburgh?
We did get to walk around a little bit. We were only there for like not that long, but it was so beautiful and like it felt like a fairy tale and like Harry Potter. It was so cool. We tried haggis, so we
People aren't
did
necessarily like
venture a little
fairy
bit,
tale.
but yeah, it was a lot of fun.
People are great, by the way. I'm joking. Um,
Aw.
most of there's some great characters. I love Scotland. Honestly, it's great. It really is. Even some of the stranger parts I really enjoy. Honestly, Glasgow. Some of the rough parts of Glasgow. Um, there's a venue there, the Academy, which is by a notorious estate called the Gorbals. And the Gorbals is, people who know it, it's like, I don't know, it's like South Central or something.
Huh.
Kind of worse because South Central you just get shot, whereas the Gorbals is someone will slice your face with a piece of glass or something.
Oh my god.
It's not that bad now, but the venue is there kind of, and you can, but even that's fun. I kind of enjoy being there. It's great. People are so nice. Come back to South America. Okay, sure, yeah. You pay for the plane ticket. I'll head out.
Yeah, fly Doviak over now, and then he'll
South
come.
America, another one. Great. I love it. Chile was fun. Santiago was there a couple of times. And really enjoyed that. There's a big mountain with like a cross or no, it's a sculpture maybe of Virgin Mary on top, which I ran up with Ewan, the bass player. Went up there and had a look, and you could see over the city. Amazing views. Very polluted, a bit like LA. It's a layer of smog. Um, and Uruguay, we played there. Um, where else? Brazil. That was fun. Um, and in Argentina, in Buenos Aires, that was good too. Yeah. Um,
I feel like where the crowds there are pretty wild. I've
there's
never
a mixture.
performed
Actually,
there.
funnily enough, in Chile, they were a bit. Both times, I think they were a little bit. They weren't as wild as I would have thought. One
Okay.
time they were particularly not very wild, and that's because their local team had lost a football match that day. So we were kind of spirits were a bit down, I think. But Argentina, Buenos Aires, was probably the craziest crowd I've ever had anywhere. It was like being the Beatles.
Oh
They were
man.
absolutely bananas. Yeah. I mean, and what was amazing to me, we were, I think it was on the second album tour. We went there, so we didn't have a ton of material. We had 2 albums, and it's pretty good. But they knew all of the music, all the new music, because very often if you play somewhere, people know the Smiths songs.
Mhm.
They may not know the Johnny Marr stuff, or maybe they know
Right.
one or two of the hits. But here they knew everything. Everybody in the club knew every song, and they knew all the riffs, so they're singing all the riffs. And the whole room was going up and
Wow.
down. That
That's
was pretty
so
banana.
cool.
It was a surprise, honestly.
And were they singing along to like the guitar riffs as well? You were
Yeah,
saying?
everything
Damn,
constantly.
crazy.
They were singing the whole way through to everything,
That's so
and
cool.
yeah, yeah, easy. It was great, and they're so friendly out there. I love it. Um, so that was fun in Buenos Aires. And I'd like to see more of that town. Um, it was kind of rough as well. You got to watch yourself, I guess, in some parts at night. But no, we had a great time there, and Brazil was fun.
Very nice.
Yeah. The fun thing about it as well is obviously the seasons are the other way around, being in the southern hemisphere. So you can leave a miserable, wintry England and be there and it's hot and sunny. It's fantastic.
Hell yeah. All right.
Oh,
Are you all right to, have a little bit more time to answer just a
oh, why
few?
not? Yeah.
Yeah? Awesome. We got a few Instagram questions for you. We got
Okay.
Ko from Japan asking, are there any musicians or bands you're interested to produce?
Uh, you know what? I've never thought about it. I never thought about the answer which you want, which is bands obviously. Bands you might know of. It's not something I've ever thought about. I mean, there's bands that I love, who I wouldn't want to produce because I don't want to be. I'd rather just listen to their records. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that involved in it in a way. I'd rather just hear it and enjoy it, rather than having to sit in the studio and have arguments and talk about, whether that amp's not quite right for that thing or whatever, and having to redo some take about 150 times or something. So I don't know, but and there's a band called The Horrors in the
Mm-hmm.
UK, and the last record I really like the production on that. I think it was Paul Epworth. But they were great. I really like that band a lot. They've got a couple of albums I love, and they're quite they progress a lot in their sound. So they had the album I really like, which I can't remember the name of, because I was up very very early this morning. It's been a long long day. Um,
I know, I'm always bad at answering things on the spot.
yeah, well,
So,
I'm just unusually tired today because I've been doing sort of promo stuff all day. So, um, but the horrors anyway. It's not going to be for everybody. They're kind of gothy, I guess, but the production to me is great. It's fantastic. There's interesting stuff going on. Very, very. It's right up my street. Um, so then, there's other bands like the band Interpol. I like them. Essentially kind of a rock band, really. Except a new wavy rock band, but I like the songs with them more than the production. I guess it's the songs and. I listen to. And I never thought the idea of producing has never crossed my mind, honestly, with any other band. But I do get asked by people. I've done some mixing recently for a couple of American bands, actually, and it's fun to do, just as a bit of a sideline thing. It's interesting. Um, Not something I probably do a lot of, but it's fun, honestly. Paul Banks and Doviak give off the same vibes, really. Yeah.
very cool.
Interesting. Never met this
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
The guitar player one time, Daniel.
I don't hear any echo happening, but I guess there might be a little bit of an echo. I'm not sure. Doesn't show anything on my end, but
This year is on Cameo. Send your special messages to friends here.
oh yeah, that's an automatic thing
Yeah.
that pops up.
North America has lots of rock fans. That's true. That's true. Liquid Rooms, a great safe place. Who said that? Liquid Rooms.
Hell
Where's that?
yeah.
Roll up. Look at that.
We got a
Uh,
couple more questions here as well. We got California Livin' is asking, you play many roles for and with Johnny. How did you form such a close, trusting relationship?
I guess just from over time, just from I mean, Johnny's really good. Johnny's a great guy. He'll give people a chance, and he'll encourage them to do the best, to push themselves. So, that's what's happening with me, to be encouraged to do things out of my comfort zone and just push the boundaries of what's possible, essentially. And so I guess you do that, and then you do whatever you're doing, and you can see that, and just go from there. So, but really, those sort of things are formed over time. So you've done a bunch of shows or records, and you know how you work in those environments, and people's strengths and weaknesses and whatever. And so it's like that, really, I guess. Yeah. We'll check horrors. Okay, you do that. Yeah. Dreams end. I hear an echo sometimes. Oh. Is it because my voice is back to your speakers? Tell you what, I'll turn this down.
Okay.
I can't hear you. Okay.
Let's see. We'll do maybe one more Instagram question, if that's cool. We'll get from Miss Priya Panda, who you've also worked with. When you were here in LA, maybe what was that? Already last year. You came by, wrote. You were actually at this exact table that I'm sitting at, writing some songs with Priya. And so I have actually played Freaky Girl on my stream before, and that you had a little bit to do with as well, which is very cool.
A little bit, only a little bit. So it was a friend of mine wrote the song a couple of years ago, and it was when I met you guys actually at our show in LA. I was thinking about that. Maybe I'd spoken to her about songs, I forget. But I sent that song and a couple of other songs to her, and I think that was the one she picked out. It's a really good, strong song, and it's something that seems to potentially be suitable for what she was trying to do. And so, but that's essentially, I didn't really have much more involvement. The song was just kind of written. I think she had a guy play guitar on it, and maybe a very minor suggestion or two or something.
But you guys did work on some other cool stuff that you had even more a part of that I'm excited for her to put out. It's really cool stuff. And
it's a frustrating thing, the tracks have been around for a while, but you have to do this process where you drip feed them out, to try to get more traction. It's a shame because, I'm sure she'd want to have them out now and people want to listen to them. But it's just the way, unfortunately, the industry kind of works. You have to build up to these things. And frustrating in some level, but because there's so much material now out there that people don't notice anything. Albums come out released by your favorite artist, you don't even know about it half the time.
Yeah, there's so many hidden gems in the world, and we've talked about that on my streams before. I mean, there really are so many cool artists you would never know about because there's so many in your face all the time, and it's hard to figure out who's who and what's what and where's where or whatever.
As from the artist's point of view, from your point of view, you have to do everything you can to try and get some kind of attention. So it means building up the release date, social media stuff, and it's a kind of a pain in the ass, but you have to do it. It's a pain in the ass because it takes your time up, and you would rather be writing music. But the thing I like about it is actually nice interacting with people in social media. Like,
true.
Numbers there, they're good people out there, and funny, and have a really good rapport. Chatting to them, and they're good ideas, and you meet people you wouldn't have expected. So that's really fun. I like that. And but the tracks with Priya, they're great. One of them's kind of like, in my mind, it's like Blondie meets ABBA, something like that.
Yeah.
And the other one, I don't
really cool stuff.
They were kind of slow they were actually very fast to write as songs, but they were slow for me to produce because I couldn't get my head around. They're quite commercial. And more than I would normally do. And I couldn't really get my head around how to do it in a way that I thought was cool, but also kept this idea that I think she was looking for, which was probably a bit more synthy and a bit more like Madonna-y or something, a bit more like Vanity or something. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of that stuff that much. And so I was trying to find a way to tie the two things in. I couldn't really do it, but they ended up kind of doing something which I was happy with, which was this kind of Blondie-esque vibe,
Yeah, no, it's everything I've heard that you guys have done is really cool. So
I'm excited. Hopefully they'll see the light of day before too long.
Yeah. She has a question for you as well. here. She's saying, "What's your number one favorite band?" And you can only pick one.
Number one favorite band. And I can only pick one. Well, that's
Yeah.
not. Um, that really isn't fair uh, because I'm useless at that kind of question. What's your favorite band? I don't know. I love so many of them. And sometimes you say this. I think of bands that are like 15 years ago that maybe now not my favorite band, but I still think they are. If that makes sense.
Right. Totally.
It's always changing. I genuinely do forget some of the. Look, load my Spotify up. Look at my playlists. See what comes up. Where is it?
California Living and Colin are like, we should collab, and I'm like, I'm down. If you're ever back in LA, I'd love to write with you sometime.
Sure.
It would be awesome.
I'd love to spend more time. I love being out there.
Yeah. Well, you're always welcome.
I love writing. I'm genuinely, it's something I want to try and carve out some time for in the future. I would have done it this year if it hadn't been for this virus.
I know. Seriously.
Pain in the ass. It's sad. I know it's difficult for people, but it's it's a drag. I'm just trying to look up some
of your most listened to.
What I should say something like Billie Eilish just to piss everybody off.
I remember you got to meet her, like play with her at a festival. I remember those Instagram stories you'd posted, right?
Oh yeah, I didn't meet. I mean, they were playing the festival where she was playing.
Yeah.
As well. Actually, you know what? She was pretty good. To be fair, she put on a decent. She's a great singer, and the show was okay. It was in Europe somewhere. It was kind of a slightly tougher audience, I think, because they're a bit older there. But it was interesting. And Johnny ended up playing on a James Bond theme with this year. So the next Bond movie, which has been postponed now because of the virus, she wrote her and her brother wrote the Bond theme, and they literally did. I mean, the guy, I think they wrote it, on a tour bus or in a bedroom in a couple of days, and obviously produced, and Johnny came and played. But it was impressive, really impressive. I'm skipping over this question about the bands. I honestly don't know. Well, of course, our own band, But PR, yeah. What else have we got? Your collaboration sounds good, yeah. Really, because I love being out in LA, and I would do it for sure. Okay, any more questions? People are sick of me now; they've all left.
No.
That's okay. I get it. I should have told them the stories about Ronnie Wood and
Yeah, whatever you're wanting to share,
That's the fun thing is we do get to meet people who, otherwise you wouldn't necessarily meet. Interesting people come down to shows like ZZ Top and in LA, or like Glenn Burke, Eddie Vedder. He turns up all the time. Sometimes, and the interesting thing about some of these guys actually, I won't pick any particularly, but I've noticed a few of them. These really seasoned, amazing players. They get nervous, around Johnny when they're playing. It's really interesting,
That is cool.
These guys will probably play arenas.
Yeah.
Normally they play with us, and you can see they're a bit nervous. It's really interesting, that. It's great that they're kind of humble enough to get nervous, around Johnny. But it's also kind of, it reminds me of the respect people have for him,
Yeah.
It's really interesting. I won't say who, but I've seen it in quite a few people, honestly, who play, What's James's favourite Oasis song? I don't know. I never used to really listen to Oasis, honestly. I'm not a great big fan, but I kind of do appreciate them a lot more now. And I do know some of the songs pretty well. Wonderwall I was listening to the other day because I was mixing something for somebody I was using that as a reference. It's a good song. We've got a lot. Noel Gallagher's an amazing writer. Love 007 movies. Yeah, great. First three.
I was literally just gonna say what IDGE House says. The first 3 Oasis albums are perfect. Yes, that's literally what my answer was gonna be too. Although I do love a song called Songbird, which was
Uh-huh.
not on any of those albums, but
Yeah. Well, still people in the chat and people watching. That's amazing,
yeah.
Bored them all to sleep yet.
I appreciate that you're not asleep yet. It's late where you're at in Manchester. It's what, 12:30 in the morning?
Well, it's not so much as late. I was up very early. I've been doing this crazy swimming in the lake. There's a lake nearby. I go swimming in there in the morning, and 'cause it wakes you up. It's fun. I go for a little run, and then I go in the water, and then,
Hell yeah. Very cool.
so that was kind of early today. So I'm a little bit tired. But
Aw.
nothing as bad as jet lag, Okay, anything else? So obsessed with guitar. I have an Ibanez. Very nice, yeah. Oh, interesting. So what's your plan then going forward the rest of this year, Alicia?
The rest of the year? Yeah, I mean, just we're in the middle of recording an EP for Vigil of War right now. Shooting a music video
Yep.
pretty soon. And, just kind of, yeah, just trying to write as much as we can before touring starts happening. Because then, then we might just be touring all the time and not
Sure.
have the time as we do right now to write and sit down and actually have this time to focus on that. So just trying to do that and, hope that we can play shows, though, soon enough. Because
Yeah.
I definitely miss the road and traveling and whatnot. So,
Let's hope so.
yeah.
Do you use Bandcamp yourself? You have Bandcamp?
No.
You don't have a Bandcamp page.
Uh-uh.
I've been using it. You know what? It's not bad. I mean, I don't have a ton of people following me on that. What's interesting is you set your own price. So it's a bit like $1 for a song or something like that. And the song I put out today, I just put it on for like 50p, just 50 cents. And what's interesting is people can overpay. They can pay extra. And they've been consistently, probably everybody who's bought it has paid many times more for that.
Aw.
It's almost like the lower you set the price, the more they will pay. So that's
That's
very,
awesome.
very kind of them, but it's interesting as well, So yeah, it's great. It's kind of fun little thing,
Well, it's an important time to be supporting artists, I think, right now. And crew as well, like you had mentioned. I mean, all of us, it's a struggle right now, but, you're still keeping creative, and
Yeah.
it's
It is.
nice.
I've been
It's like a
working-
gift to the world when you're releasing stuff, and
Pink
so
Floyd.
we're stoked on your new music.
To me, Pink Floyd is in their own category of greatness. My favourite band, though, is Molly Hatchet. Interesting. Do I remember Pink Floyd? Yeah, I used to
Yeah.
like it.
Molly
yeah.
Hatchet, I don't know who that is, but I do know Pink Floyd.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Yeah.
Very cool.
So-
No, I really appreciate you coming on and hanging out and staying
Yeah.
awake this late and
100 people still being chatting,
yeah, I know. It's awesome. Yeah, what if you guys have any questions for James, feel free to ask him stuff.
Yeah, really, go ahead. If you're going to ask him now, because I'll be here forever. But yeah, I'm not in a great rush to get off, so it's okay. I'll do. No questions? All right. Photography, working on some toy photography. Interesting. Joel Gurney, good for you. Fair enough. No comment.
So you were saying that if you weren't doing music, you think you would be doing like filmmaking or?
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Probably if I'd never gone into music, I probably would have done that, I do love it. I mean, it's probably why I've made my own videos, because I mainly made it because I couldn't really, too lazy to go out and find anybody to make it for me. But it's kind of fun to do. I mean, my videos don't look particularly great. They're very lo-fi. They're very homemade, amateur. But I think I do them in a way that still makes them kind of watchable and engaging. They're not total crap. You know what I mean?
No, it looks good.
kind of
It doesn't
entertaining.
look lo-fi to me. Yeah.
I mean, they're so lo-fi, really. It's crazy. As you know, you've done videos, so you know what it's like. You shoot just one little, you stand there and it looks really cool, but just to your left-hand side is like I don't know, big pile
All
of
kinds of
clothes or something.
crap and
Yeah,
yeah.
you don't see that on camera always easy. What's James's favourite food? Again, these tough questions. I don't know. There's so many great. And there is, you know. Asian food's great because I like it's light. It suits my temperament. But I like a good steak sometimes. You know. LA is always great for food. And what you do pretty well over there is all that very healthy, organic, green kind of stuff. You know, and that's fun because it's done well. You know, when I go to LA, it's done well. I can eat just very good, healthy, not necessarily vegetarian, but predominantly vegetarian stuff. Yeah, you know, what I really like to do on tour generally is find good. Can you say ethnic nowadays, or do you get like cancelled? Ethnic food places, you know, like in San Francisco, if you're staying in Tenderloin, there's a hotel there called the Phoenix, where bands usually stay because their management think they like it. And it's terrible. I mean, the place is noisy and I don't like it, and it's the worst part of town. Very rough, the Tenderloin. I don't know if you know it, but they have some amazing Vietnamese places. Two of the best Vietnamese, banh mi, probably you can get anywhere in the world, and some great pho, you know, or pho, and it's right on the doorstep of Green Phoenix. So I love those places. They're incredibly cheap, very very tasty, and they're dirty looking, and the food's delicious, you know. And in Manchester, we have a lot of predominantly Pakistani, and there's some Indian, and they usually say it's Indian restaurants, but it's mostly Pakistani. That's the predominant kind of ethnic food here, and some of it's fantastic. You know? So that's pretty good. There's a few places I go. Again, they're usually dirty little cafes, but they're delicious. There's something about the way they do what they do, which is better than the restaurants. The restaurants can be overcooked, too salty, too greasy, whatever. But some of the cafes are fantastic. Some good Chinese food here as well. English food, when it's good, is very, very, very good, but it's hard to find it. You know.
Very savory and
Yeah,
very
you know,
good.
I think it's some of
I
the.
have to load up every time I go to the UK and get like 50 packs of crumpets to put in my bag. 'Cause, I don't know, I love crumpets and UK chocolate like Galaxy and
Interesting
like
choices for the best food, but you know, if you like them, that's great. That's great.
and there was like this, what is it, the Cadbury like jelly popping marvelous creations. Those are my favorite. They're like, have you had those? They're like the chocolate with like the jelly things that pop. What's that?
You probably had something like that, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
so good. I think about it all the time, but
I was thinking more like things like pheasants, you know, and goose or something like that, you know, and roast potatoes and you know, parsnips or horseradish and things, you know. But you know, those popping candy things, and they're pretty tasty too, I'm sure, you know.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big sweet tooth, so.
Yeah. Well, you'll get it over here because the US chocolate's crap, in my opinion.
Oh, I agree. I hate American chocolate. Like Hershey's tastes like dirt to me. But after you've had Galaxy and it just melts in your mouth, it's like you can't go back.
Well, worse than that, Hershey's, honestly, to me, smells a little bit like vomit. There's a little smell of it. Reminds
Yeah,
me
it's
of.
like ugh. I just yeah, it's not good to me. But
But you know what? It's fun. Who cares? You know, it's all sugar, isn't it? Finding a proper, authentic English food like hot pot, not an imitation one. Yeah, it's not easy. It's getting easier now because you're getting a lot of like hipster places that do very good food. You know, they do things like that. They do unusual cuts of food, cuts of meat. That traditionally was popular in England, but nowadays it kind of lost favour. Nowadays it's coming back. Toasted crumpets and jam. Wow, one column. That's great. Galaxy caramel. It's Colin, the guy in Edinburgh, near Edinburgh. Advent calendars. Depends which advent calendars you buy. What? Ha ha, no way. Manchester United. There we go. Manchester City. Yeah.
yeah, are you a big sports fan at all or not so much?
When if I go to a game and watch it, it's great. But I just don't have time to really. I kind of missed the boat somehow, and don't really have time to get into it now. But you know, if I did like a team, it would be City because everybody likes City, who I know. So That's the matches I've been to have been city matches. I like how producers always have that producer look. There we go.
It's true. You have a very like sophisticated producer look, you know.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to think if there's any more interesting tales. But if anyone's got any questions, I'll answer them. You guys aren't getting bored by now. You must have stuff to do. Yeah.
How many guitars do you own total?
Not that many, honestly, because I don't really think about kind of collecting them. Got maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 15 or something.
15?
Maybe. Is that a lot?
Not too many, just about 15.
When you look at it compared to Johnny's guitar collection, it's
right,
like,
yeah.
So.
I feel you. I go over Herman's lost count. He's like, yeah, I have probably like 200 something guitar. I don't even know. I'm like, what?
They're a good investment as well. They hold the value pretty well, and they're good guitars, So, but I don't think to buy them. I mean, for a while, because for a while I was buying studio gear, preamps and things like that, microphones, whatever.
Right.
But even now, I don't really buy much of that stuff anymore because I don't really use it. I try and do everything in the box, in the computer, as much as possible. Because I like being mobile. I like having sessions. I can pick up my laptop, take it to Greece, and, sit on the balcony and work on a song or whatever. And it's all in there. I don't have to find it.
Totally, all the plugins.
The more I do, the more. The reason I can do that though is because the software now is getting so good. In my mind, it's equally as good as any of the old hardware stuff. It's different, but it's equally as good. And so I have no qualms at all about doing that. The only point where I need the outboard is to get into the computer. Like a good preamp, maybe a good compressor, a good mic or something. Once you're in there, it doesn't matter. And even the guitar, the amp modeling is so good. You don't really need an amp, I don't think, unless you want to.
Are you running like Pro Tools or Logic? What do you use?
Both, yeah. And I tend to write in Logic. I tend to mix and work with Johnny's usually Pro Tools. Cool. I much prefer Pro Tools as a piece of software by a long, long way. But Logic, I think because for a long time I was writing in Pro Tools and I kind of spent a long time on tracks that went around in circles and so somehow I kind of burned myself out writing in Pro Tools, so I write in Logic. But with Johnny I work in Pro Tools all the time. It's great. They're all much the same, these pieces of software, Is there any instrument I would like to play? I'd like to learn to play. Something like violin would be interesting because it's a sustained instrument. So guitar is percussive and the piano is percussive. You hit it, you make a string vibrate and it dies away. Now, okay, you can use an E-bow or something, or violin bow, whatever, but they're essentially a percussive instrument. Whereas a violin isn't, you're bowing it all the time. Mm-hmm. So you can make notes swell up and swell down, and, come down, whatever. So something like that might be interesting.
Yeah, I always thought orchestral instruments were really cool. Like, I want to learn the cello or something.
Drums would be the one I'd love to play. And I thought about a drum kit, but I just haven't. I won't get it. If I get it, I'll spend all my time learning it and not writing any music, and then I'll have no money, and then I'll live on the street. So I'm gonna learn drums, but I wish I could.
Ooh, Jelger, you're talking about chocolate. I really missed crunchy bars. Oh, I love crunchy bars too. Those are awesome.
Yeah. But chocolate crunchy bars, crunchies were fun, weren't they? I don't really eat much now like that, but I used to live in PA, that Philadelphia? Or Pennsylvania. Did the Hershey tour, kind of strange but fun. Interesting. Yeah. Play Johnny Marvin, yeah, maybe later. I asked Lee on the stream what he thought about this. Okay. Big on film soundtracks. Would you like to work on soundtracks someday? Enemy numbers. Yeah, I probably would actually. Yeah. At some point when got some more other work out of the way, I like the idea of doing it. The right kind of film. For a while, I'd love to have done it. A few years back, I'd love to have done soundtracks, and they're still when I watch films, I'm usually very listening to the soundtrack and very interested in what they're doing. But right at the moment, it's not actually as exciting for me to do that at this moment. I'd rather be doing what I'm doing now. But in a few years, I think it would be fun to do something like that. I like the idea of doing more experimental soundtracks. A lot of the commercial films, like these Guardians of the Galaxy, that kind of thing. Because of the nature of doing so commercial, they have to have music which is very commercially kind of viable as well. So it's big, bold brass themes, tunes that you can kind of sing to some degree, But the stuff I really like is kind of weird stuff, weird aleatoric, where like all the strings are kind of descending while the other strings are going up, and it sounds creepy and weird, and but you get those in films like Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or The Shining, or something, or that film that Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead scored, There Will Be Blood. Johnny Greenwood's a big fan of Penderecki, who's a Polish experimental composer, and the stuff, like I say, is very weird by itself, but in film it's fantastic.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. What else? Maltesers, there we go, yeah. Maltesers, they're kind of fun. The trouble with Maltesers, though, they're very small, and it's easy to start eating lots of them without realising it, and then you feel sick.
Nice. I'm not sure if I've ever had that before.
They're basically little round chocolate balls with honeycomb, that fake honeycomb inside.
Okay, yeah.
Crunchy texture inside.
We have stuff like that. Whoppers.
Yeah. What movie soundtrack do you like most? Good question. Probably some, because when I used to listen to it would be the old ones, so it would be like Close Encounters, or like if it isn't the big films like, say, Raiders of the Lost Ark or things like that, it's not the main themes, it's the weird bits in them where the music's really weird. That's what I like. What's your laptop recording setup? It's a MacBook. I use Pro Tools and Logic, and nowadays that's kind of it by myself. In the studio with Johnny, we use a lot more outboard. But by myself, I just kind of, pretty much go straight into the laptop through an interface, and keep things as simple as possible. That's just how I like to do it. The only thing I might do at some point is get a mixing desk, like a mixing console, like 24-channel desk or something, because it's a lot easier to mix with a bunch of faders. I don't really like mixing with a mouse. It's much easier when you can pull 2 or 3 things up or down simultaneously and then adjust the EQ. Yeah. Whoppers, you mean like Burger King? Have you ever had to cancel working with a band? No, I don't think so. No, it's not happened, fortunately. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So when are you back in the studio then? Have you got any plans?
When our drummers like goes back and forth between here and Hawaii. So he'll be here actually next week. So we have some studio dates booked in the next couple weeks. Yeah. Gonna try to at least get the drums done on 3 new ones. So while he's here. So,
do you use a producer, or do you guys just do it yourself, or how do you do it?
We have a producer named Mike Pepe, who's awesome. He has a studio called Barefoot Studios here in LA, and we've worked with him like the last at least 3 or 4 songs that we've put out. So it's been feels good to be in the studio again, because it's been a minute, and now that we have the time. So yeah.
Fantastic. The Barefoot Studio rings a bell, actually. That's great. What was the other question that came up? How about Japanese anime or TV movies? Yeah, I wouldn't say no to that. That to me would be some more weird synthesizer stuff, probably. UK Maltesers are the equivalent of American rappers. Okay. What's the most challenging Smith song to play